Hey, what's going on, guys? This is George D. Lopez. I'm your host. This is my show. I'm really excited. It's my first podcast ever. This is going to be an ongoing thing. I'm going to do podcast shows once a week, and it's going to be about, I'm going to try to go for themes and things that I like to talk about, like scary stuff, paranormal stuff that we don't understand necessarily, but it's not, like, I don't know, because, like, all this stuff, it's not scary. Like, it's really not scary. It's only scary because we don't know what it is. Like, if you turn on the light, you can see your room, right? You know what your room looks like. But when you turn your light off in the night, something happens where you don't know what's in there. Now you're scared to be in your room. Even though with the light on, no big deal. And I think the paranormal is that in real life. Like, during the day, everything that we know, the rational world, the Western world, we know what that is. That's our reality with the lights on. But paranormal is with the lights off, and I think that's why it's so fascinating. So many people always want to talk about the paranormal because it's fucking fascinating. Also, like, who wants to live in a world where you know everything? Like, I want to know if there's extra dimensional beings coming and visiting, our alien, like angels and demons and all these like monsters. Are they actually real and they existed and they came from different dimensions? Who knows? I don't believe anything, but I also don't like disprove anything. I just like talking about it, and I like to see if it's real, because it could be real. We don't know, and it'd be crazy to think that we know everything. But today's crazy paranormal stuff that we're going to talk about, we're going to go over the paranormal activity in Orange County. Now, if you don't know me, I'm from Orange County, California. I work at Disneyland. I love working at Disneyland. People that know me are probably like, bullshit, he fucking hates it. I hate it, but I also know that it's way better than doing any other job, any other hourly job. I worked at Best Buy installing refrigerators and shit, and that was miserable. Disney is hands down probably the greatest job I've ever had, besides working with my mentor for a couple of years. So being at Disneyland's awesome. But I remember the first day I was being trained, my trainer, he's kind of like a hoodlum, but he's very cool. But he would be like, he had his Disney persona. We all have Disney personas where we go, just super professional. And he was telling me, he goes, yeah, this place is enchanted. And I go, oh yeah, Magic Kingdom. He goes, no, it's enchanted. Wink, wink. Like, he actually winked at me, and I go, okay. He goes, and then he goes, fool, I'm talking about it's haunted. This place is haunted. And I go, oh yeah. He goes, yeah, man, you fucking haunted. Like, I started laughing. I was like, oh, what do you mean it's haunted? He started telling me all these different stories and stuff. And honestly, I thought it was like bullshit, like the haunting of America. But I'm going to tell you a few stories. I'm going to start off with my story about Disneyland. The first few minutes, the first like 10 minutes is going to be about Disney. And then I'm going to go over the different stories. Or you know what? Let's do let's save Disney for last, because Disney's, I'll make sure that I put it in the description, the timestamp when I start talking about Disney. So if you just want to talk about Disney, we'll just do that. Okay. But I'm going to go down this list really quick, and then write it down. I'll put the link in the description of the places. So there is a website called hauntedrooms.com, California, Orange County / haunted places. That's what it's called. So just look up, Google haunted rooms. Oh, actually, I'll fucking put it in the description, as I said. So in this description, it says number 10 is Anaheim, Red Cross Anaheim. One of the most haunted places in Orange County is said to be the Red Cross in Anaheim. What's particularly interesting about this paranormal activity is that the ghosts are far from scary. Oh, this one's cool. I like this one. In fact, the resident spirit there is said to be a bit of a matchmaker. If a man or woman walk upstairs to the second floor, the ghost, who's believed to be the original caretaker of the property, will push them together, but only if he believes them to be a good match. So if you guys want to know if she's the one or he's the one, and you live in Orange County, head over to the Red Cross Anaheim and walk to the second floor. See if the ghost helps. If not, I don't know. Don't tell your significant other that you're testing them, I guess. And then we're gonna go to the next one. This is gonna be the Yorba Cemetery in Yorba Linda. Now, Yorba Linda is closer to Corona, which is a different county, Riverside County. It's at the very edge. Yorba Linda is a really nice area. I love that spot. It's like one of my favorite spots for sure. So Yorba Cemetery is home to a spirit known as the Pink Lady Ghost, who's described as a 17-year-old dressed in a pink gown who's usually always crying. She's been spotted in the cemetery for many years and is apparently the spirit of a girl who died under tragic circumstances in a buggy accident on her way to prom sometime around 1910. I guess they didn't have cars in the 1910s, right? However, not everyone believes this particular tale. Some say that she was just identified as a local woman named Alvina de los Reyes, who died of pneumonia. Whoever she is, most witnesses agree that she is quite obviously distressed by her untimely demise. Yeah, it sucks. You don't want to die young, right? You never want to die. The cemetery dates back to 1834, and although the Pink Lady is the most well-known spirit, there are others who haunt here too. The gates have been closed since 1939, but there are tours available by arrangement, those who if you would like to explore. So if you want to go to this cemetery, you can actually hang out in the cemetery. Apparently it's like, I don't think they put dead bodies there anymore, and you can actually have someone escort you around. So I think that's actually a really cool date. If you guys won't have a significant other, go on a date. If not, find a friend, and maybe we can go together as friends. Let's go to number 8. El Adobe de El Adobe de Capistrano Restaurant, San Juan Capistrano. I struggle because I can speak Spanish, and I struggle between my white voice and my Mexican voice. So like I can say the words perfectly, but my white, like how I speak English regularly, it mixes with the both. So then I can't say either or. So let's go. Go back to the story. This is ranked number 8. So El Adobe de Capistrano, oh my God, I can't speak Spanish right now. This restaurant is considered to be something of a historical landmark in Orange County and certainly has a unique history. It is part old jail and courtroom and part 200-year-old residence. It has been transferred into a restaurant, which is believed to be one of the most haunted places in Orange County. Its famous ghost story is of a particularly disturbing one. Local legend states that there is a headless monk who walks around the restaurant carrying an axe. No one is sure who he is and why he's carrying such a weapon, especially since there have never been executions carried out while this was a jail. I think that was probably where they put drunk people. I know that like in westerns they always like, oh, if you played Red Dead, that's what I'm talking about. When like they just throw people in this like jail and they keep them in there for a couple of days. It's like a drunk tank. Anyways, other reports from visitors state that they have seen a spirit known as the White Lady of Rio Street peering in through the windows. So Katie Wheeler Library, Irvine. This is the next one, number 7. So if you don't know about Irvine is like one of the richest cities in the country, I would say, and by extension the world. It's a really nice area. It's right next to, it's where like all the people in Newport work. It's really, I worked there for like 4 years. It's a really nice area. I love being there, and they got one of the best like places to eat. Like, there was this food court I used to eat at because it had everything, and I loved it. But anyway, let's go back to the story. Oh yeah, Irvine was started by the Irvine family, and it's I've actually driven by that house multiple times. The house I'm looking at now, and this guy, he owned, I think at one point he owned like Tustin and Santa Ana. He owned like a huge portions of the. And I read this off there's a hiking trail in Newport, and it talks about the Irvine family owning a huge portion, and I think the government made him sell his land. So he had all this land. He was like, they're like, you have to sell it to us. But they were also like land barons, but they were also really good at not just having land, but also businesses. So like the family was really talented. The reports of the mysterious lady in blue have been coming in for several decades at the Irvine Ranch House in Orange County. It has been suggested that she is actually the spirit of Catherine Helena Irvine, who is said to have died in the building at a fairly young age due to serious complications of childbirth in 1920. The house burned down in the 1960s and was eventually replaced by Irvine Katie Wheeler Library. Although Catherine roamed the property for several decades, the librarian says that she's unaware of any recent reports. Has Catherine left her home, or is she just keeping out of sight? That's a stupid joke. There's also a tall man that's been sensed by multiple people. It is believed that he's Catherine's father. Also, staff often hear someone when there is no one. That's like the main MO, right? All right, cool. I'm recording again. Sorry, I had to pause it momentarily to respond to my graphics person, my girlfriend. So Stanley House, Garden Grove. So I actually heard about this house. It's a historical home located in Garden Grove. That's my city, sorta, and it has long held a reputation for being one of the most haunted places in Orange County, thanks to a number of ghostly inhabitants. The most well-known specter is the house's original story, Agnes Stanley. As she entered the later stages of life, she found herself unable to climb the stairs in her home, and the physical weakness made her very bitter. Yeah. So she was pissed off that she couldn't go up. And this is something that held on to after her death, and she's known to appear spirit on the staircase, blocking others from ascending. Guests sometimes find it difficult or even impossible to get past her and go upstairs. Like, you know what? Do you think your soul, like, the longer you live in a property, your soul, like, anchors to that spot forever? And, like, the afterlife, if you're not ready to cross, you just basically get anchored to where you feel most familiar with. And if you die elsewhere, like hundreds of thousands of miles away, do you go back to your home or do you stay where you died? I don't know. What do you guys think? So we're going to go over Wild Goose Yacht. So this was the John Wayne house, the Duke. He loved Newport. You know what? I've read this exact paragraph on other websites. So everybody's copying and pasting from this website. The Wild Goose is a luxury yacht that he purchased in 1979, just a few short months before his cancer claimed his life. It seems like he decided to make most of it in his afterlife, since those who hire it out often hear loud footsteps and experience lights that switch off and on their own, and doors in empty rooms mysteriously locking themselves. So yeah, I've heard about that too. Not necessarily at this house, but other houses or Disney. I've heard that happen at Disney a few times, where like a door closes and locks and you're like, how the fuck, who locked it, you know? The strange occurrences have been happening for decades and have been experienced by a variety of different people. Also, John Wayne was like a notorious racist. That's what I heard. Ooh, okay, number 4 is going to be good because I have a couple stories to go up about this, but I fact checked them, and some of them are bullshit, but I read it on a YouTube video on Black Star. It's kind of got like a lot of notoriety. It's pretty famous. Being haunted. I used to hear that like cult members used to practice and worship the devil, and that there was people being chased by KKK, white supremacist bikers. I've heard all sorts of stuff about Black Star Canyon. Google it. It's super cool. I think you guys would really like it. So Black Star Canyon sits in the foothills of the Santa Ana Mountains and is considered to be one of the most haunted places in Orange County. That is true. The area is known for its natural beauty by day. Oh, it's gorgeous. I've hiked to the very end of it, and there's a huge waterfall when it rains. I mean, it's a gorgeous fucking waterfall. And at night, things become very different indeed. And they do. Me and my best friend Nick, we were actually on our way back. We saw a UFO, and we were also being stalked. And allegedly, there's lions there. I've never seen a mountain lion, but we heard fucking footsteps in the brush. And the brush was only like 3 feet tall. And like we were looking, and like we both felt like we were being stalked or something was watching us. And we just fucking booked it. Like we literally started jogging and got the fuck out of there. And this is like at the beginning of our friendship. So this is when we're like, you know, we're in our honeymoon period. So we went out there by ourselves. We just wanted to hang out and like, yeah, I mean, I still love hanging out with him, but like then it was like, you know, like sexy time and shit, and we hung out, and it was just so much fun. And I remember us being super fucking scared by that point. Like we were in a good mood, having a good time, and then at the end of that, we were like fucking terrified, but we got the fuck out of there. And it was weird because the UFO was like think of a star constellation, but it's rotating and it's in the sky. And we're like, what the fuck is that? And we like, it just gave us the heebie-jeebies. So we got the fuck out of there. So there's a couple different stories about. So there's this bus, and I think I saw it in 2011. Allegedly, the bus was it's no longer there, but the spot. Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna go over the. Okay, so the terrifying history of Black Star Canyon dates back to the bloody massacre of the Native American Tongva tribe that took place in 1831. There's no proof of that. I looked for it. Like it's like an urban legend. When a group of fur trappers attacked and slaughtered the people where they resigned in the canyon. The attacks was in retaliation for allegedly stealing the fur trappers' horses. really beautiful there, guys. Highly recommend it if you haven't gone. It's believed that the spirits of the Tungva, I can't pronounce it, were killed in that ambush still remain in the canyon today, as people claim they have seen the ghost of Native Americans walking around the trails. There's also been reports of people hearing faint sounds of tribal chanting somewhere off in the distance. If that isn't enough to give you the chills, there are other tales of bloodshed that continue to haunt this place, this part of Santa Ana Mountains. It's so weird calling it Santa Ana because it's not Santa Ana, but I guess technically it is Santa Ana. And there was another murder that took place there, and I think this one actually might be true. There's a ranch. When you get halfway through the hike, you actually see where people hang out, but I've never actually seen people there, and I've been there like 6 times, and I've never seen someone actually in these living quarters, but it's private property and you're not allowed to cross it. It ended with the death of James Gregg, who was shot and killed during the dispute. It's believed that the ghost of James still lives in the hidden ranch, as there has been countless stories of his ghost being spotted near the area where he was shot. Another horrific incident that took place, this one's bullshit. YouTube comments also pointed out that it's bullshit, but I try to find like this story about this bus crashing. It's not true. So another horrific event that took place much later on in 1970, there was a school bus that traveled the area on a daily basis as part of its route. One summer day, a freak accident occurred and the driver lost control of the bus. It spiraled into Black Star Canyon, killing everyone on board, including the school children. The crashed bus remained on property until 2012. People have reported over the years that they got close to the bus and they could see ghostly apparitions. Bullshit. That appeared to be children to get away from them. They say that's just people making shit up. Because I'm going to go to this comment, and this comment explains what happened, and it sounds plausible. So no kids died in the school bus. It has 18 likes. Someone had it on their property during a flood mudslide, and it pushed into the creek, which I actually believe that. I remember hearing that a long time ago. I asked a friend, and he said it happened during like a mudslide. So this guy named RobDog1, he posted a comment on this video 8 months ago, and it sounds cool because he's a proponent for it being haunted. He said, "You people say it's not haunted. Riddle me this. I was four-wheeling up at the top of the canyon main divide road. That is pretty much the end of the line for the road. Everything past us is gated off. We came across Beek's place, the cabin up there, and stopped a few minutes to go explore. There's a cabin up there? I had no idea. We got back in and started going towards the trail about 7 miles back. Bedford Trail, 7 miles back. And right as the gates to Black Star... Oh, what the fuck? Right past the gate to Black Star, I caught this shadow figure. I know I wasn't there. That's exactly where me and my buddy were next. We had crossed the gate, and we were like 100 yards past his gate. Exactly where this guy is saying it. I did not know that. I know I wasn't imagining because the guy in the car behind me said, "Oh, am I crazy? Or did something like that look like a person just run in front of you?" Keep in mind, this is after sunset, dusk. That's when we saw it. That's exactly the same exact time when the sun was going down. You could hardly, the sun actually kind of already went down, but you could still see the sunlight out. And there was no clouds, no lights, nothing except the sun going down. We scattered here for a few minutes, me with my 45 in my hand. I wish I had my 45. My buddy had a fucking knife on him. We couldn't so my 45, but they didn't find anything. We kept going. A little further on, we hear this weird, almost rhythmic noise coming from just below the next ridge. This was over the engine noise and us chanting on the CB. I swear to this day it was drums. I've heard the drum thing, and my buddy agrees with me. We didn't see anything, but you could hear it clear as bell. There's no planes around, no cars, nothing. Nothing makes noise except our 2 Jeeps. I know it hasn't been mechanical because I turned everything off. I know it wasn't something mechanical. He made an error there because I turned everything off. Engine, radio, and everything. Believe me or don't. But there's something whack in the canyon in the Santa Ana Mountains. I've grown up in OC and I've read the history. It's not normal. Whatever I saw or heard. Yeah, that's actually, it's so funny that I read this random comment as we were going down. Because that's exactly, so once you get past a certain point, you see the Black Star sign and there's a bridge, and this guy said it was by the sign at the beginning of the trail, and that's where me and my friend were. We were just, it might have been a lot further, but it was definitely in that area. Now this hike, we went there at, I want to say 2, and we didn't leave till about like 8:30. Like, we were so worried because the sun went down and we were covered in mud and water and stuff. And that just like a portion of that, it's just a straight road, and that will take you an hour or so of just walking at a brisk walk. And then once you get to like the hard part, it's up there, man. So it's cool that this guy had something similar happen, and I've never heard the drums. So if you've been at Black Star, have you heard drums? I don't know. So what did they claim under? Okay, and then there's one guy. Okay, so this guy says he runs at 4 o'clock and it gives you the creeps. Okay, so this guy named Jesse Torres. He writes, I was there at night not too long ago with my buddies to see if the rumors were all about. I was walking through the trail and I clearly see something in the sky that looked like a meteorite. And other night, other hikers saw it too. Hikers saw it too. Something was moving in the brushes as I thought the animal was passing by. However, other hikers were walking back to their cars. We were left alone, just the 3 of us, and everything sounded so quiet. That's exactly what happened to me. I wonder if we were there the same night. The air got cooler, and we both felt a strange presence coming along the distance. We hear this howling and something like a black figure. I didn't see the black figure, but I definitely know we just probably didn't see it. And I felt this eerie feeling that something wasn't right, and we had to turn around. It was a sign not to come any further, since we were the only ones there. However, we saw this couple walking by the same path, probably me and Nick. At the same path as we were walking back to wait for them, and they come back safely. Thankfully, they did, and they had a strange feeling and saw a strange couple. Oh my God, they were spooked. And we ended with a couple shots of tequila, so they sat down and drank with them to cool down. That's funny. This is no joke, and I'm not making this up. Literally, go at your own risk because other people saw and felt the same thing that we know, which is so crazy. That's exactly what we saw. Like when we were up in the hills, because there's a point where you get to it, you can go up into the hills, or you can keep going straight into the cavern. It's this huge cavern with the waterfall at the very end, or you can go to the left, and then there's like a point where you split, right? It's amazing because on the way back, that's when I had stuff happen. And this guy literally said the same thing, that we saw something in the sky, some star type thing, and we felt a strange presence. And we couldn't find anything. We didn't see a shadowy figure. We looked around, and I remember my friend and I were like, we're being stalked. So we just rationally said it was a mountain lion, but we saw the same fucking stars in the sky, which is so crazy. I knew we weren't crazy. Nick, we weren't crazy. Oh God, we're 21 minutes in. That's okay, but we're gonna go a little later. I want to get through this everything. No biggie, right? It's gonna be about 30 to 45 minutes. So anybody that actually listens to the whole thing, I love you. You're like my number 1 fan, and I will love you for all eternity. So Black Star's pretty at night. The only thing you have to worry about is the damn coyotes. That's true. If you are into night photography, this is a great place. Nothing creepy, just coyotes. They will come to you, so be careful. If you're a woman, do not go. If you're a group of women, do not go by yourself, because fucking coyotes will jack you. They will jack a small man. They're fucking crazy. Okay, so this guy has a Mr. Popo, like Dragon Ball. I went one time. The thing is, I crashed and fell out of the car and hit a guy's car, and I blinked, and I was in the car, and the guy came right into me saying I hit him and fell out. I was so scared. My car had no crashes, no scratches, and his did. Then people need to proofread. He followed me at first, and I kept thinking maybe he's making sure I'm okay. Then I got home, and he parked, and I didn't think the most of it, and I went to thank him and give him gas money. I was far away from Black Star, so I go to him. He runs in panic. He's yelling, telling me to run and follow him. And when he said made my spine froze. I could move my arms, but not my back. I tried to break through. What the fuck? Hold on, let me read. He runs in panic. He tells me something. He's telling me to run, follow him, and that he said that my spine froze. I could move my arms, but not my back. I tried to break through, and I finally did. I reach him, and he gets faster and faster, looking like a car. I tripped on a crack in the road, and he's chasing me. I managed to reach a house with the lights, so I started banging on the door. He knows my nickname, but not my real name. He gets me inside his PJ run. I didn't know this. What the hell is she talking about? He sounds the door. What? I don't know. This one didn't make sense. Yeah, I don't know this story. The problem with people writing comments is they don't proofread. Obviously, I try to make it as best as I can, but I also make errors. But I mean, sometimes sentence structure is important, guys. Me, Black Star, I'm BNI. As a native, I'm very interested in the mine, cave, blah, blah, blah. I grew up. All right. So that's pretty much all we have for Black Star Canyon. We've all heard different things. Let me see here. Okay. Let's do this. We're going to go back to the paranormal activity in Anaheim. See, this would be great for a side host. They could ramble while I look for stuff. So I have everything already set in place. So, oh no. What's going on? Oh my God. My computer did this weird thing where I couldn't see what was going on. Okay, so we're 25 minutes in. Not too bad. So number 3 in this list is Disneyland, California. Everyone knows Disneyland. It's famous as fuck. And we're gonna go over some personal stories that we've heard. And I think I already told you. I don't know if I told my story. Did I tell my story? Well, I'm gonna tell you my story anyways. So I was in Tavern. I was closing. There's this area where they sell turkey legs. It's one of 2 areas in Fantasyland that sells turkey legs. And I'm a busser. Or I was a busser at the time, and I worked in an area that is open till closing, but our restaurant is closed. So, but they leave everything open for me so I can close the area. And I just kind of clean tables, nothing crazy. So I was alone, and I have a manager that would check on me. He was a really cool dude. I'm actually going to tell a couple of his stories today as well. While we were hanging out, I'm hanging out, doing my thing. I go inside of Tavern. Now, Tavern is a small kitchen, super tiny. It's got like, I'm telling you, it's probably as big as your guys' kitchen at home, and maybe like a small portion of like a bathroom or something. And at the front is another like the front is just like at the front of a restaurant. It's got like 4 or 5 registers, 6 registers, and it's super small. I'm telling you, it's like maybe like 30 feet long, 15 feet wide, like nothing. Oh, I'm sorry, 30 feet wide, 30 feet long. I don't know. And I go inside this fucking room. I'm by myself, but I hear fucking, like someone's picking up boxes, unloading condiments. They're putting stuff back. They're taking boxes of soda, and you can hear it. I know that sound, so I don't pay any attention. I thought it was weird that anybody was there, but apparently someone was there. So I go over there and check and say, hey, who I thought was there was Chris. I go, Chris, hey buddy, what's going on? And I go around the corner, no one's there. And then I hear like someone inside the area. And at this point, I think someone's fucking with me. So I check under the counters. I'm looking under the counters. I'm looking up, around. I'm like, someone's fucking with me. They're hiding in the fridge because people don't hide in the fridges sometimes. So I go in the fridge, nothing's there. Like I've had my girlfriend, she's small enough to fit in those fucking fridges. So I think it's someone just fucking with me. And no one's in there. And apparently I'm not the only one that's had weird stuff happen. I don't talk to the person that did, but apparently there's some stuff. So I'm going to tell you a story that happened to a friend of mine. It happened to 2 of my friends, actually. So her story goes as follows, and I quote, Toontown was closed due to technical difficulties. All cast had gone for the day since we weren't going to open. I was in the office doing their like notes and stuff like for that supervisors do. So she's on the computer, and Beth was washing some dishes by the sink. There was no one else around in the building but her and I. So her, the narrator, and Beth. And we both hear a female voice say, whoa. But it wasn't just a regular whoa. It was like a whoa. And I thought Beth said it. She thought I said it. And from the office I yelled, what's the matter? And at the same time she ran under the corner and said, what did you say? And I told her I didn't say anything. I heard you say whoa. And she says no. She looked at me and said, no, I didn't say anything. I heard you say that. We both looked at each other and didn't know what to say. If that's not a ghost story, I don't know what is. I mean, it's not scary, but it's like, that's like for sure we both heard it. It's not in our head. Second story, the same person, narrator. We're going to call this narrator, we'll call her Susan. So second story, I'm sorry, that's an inside joke. That's why I left. Anyways, Susan says, I was at the sink cleaning the yogurt machine. All of a sudden, I hear someone behind me say, look behind you. It was a male voice, and it was like he was whispering it in my ear. That's the same time I felt like a breeze go past me and a cold spot. That's fucking Toontown, by the way. Toontown is exactly like that. It's always randomly cold in there. I would have a fucking jacket in there, and I don't get cold. It's very hard for me to get cold, but I was cold in that fucking area. There's always cold spots there. Toontown's fucking creepy. Anyways, it scared me, caused me because no one was in the building. So it scared her because no one was in the building. And then this other guy named George had heard a little kid laughing in the Toontown kitchen. So inside the kitchen where they prepare the food, so it's a back area. It's very narrow. Said that he heard a little kid laughing. But honestly, that could be the concrete. There's a lot of like sounds of people, like little kids laughing maybe, and maybe it like ricocheted off a wall. But the guy that said that, she's telling me the story from another perspective. I hear that this guy, he's very like credible, so I don't think he's full of shit. Anyways, so this other story has to do with same thing with Susan. Susan says, I was in the office closing one time. Janelle and I were talking for a minute. We hear a notice by the printer. Then we saw the small trash bag roll out of nowhere. So this trash bag roller, I don't know if it was a trash bag or a roll of trash bags, but it moved out of nowhere. Oh, it was a roll. She miswrote it. So she saw a roll of bags. So it's like like toilet paper, anything that could roll, but it's bags, right? And after we saw that, we tried to see if the box was tilted in a way for it to roll. So whatever it was sitting on top of, but it didn't matter what they did, it couldn't roll. So someone would have had to push it. Which some of these stories sound so silly, but it's kind of like. It's like that's usually what ghost stories are. It's like stuff that you can't explain, and very rarely are they really scary. Most times it's like little things. It's just them trying to poke through the veil to communicate with us. And this other guy swears that tavern's haunted. The place I told you that I heard people moving around in, but there's no one in there. And by the way, that area at night, there's no one there. That part is next to where they do fireworks. So after fireworks, they close up a huge portion of that. There's a giant stage there where they have Mickey's Magical Map. That's where Tavern's at. If you ever go to Disneyland, it's Mickey's Magical Map. And then they have Toontown, which is closed because they shoot the fireworks right behind there. So we have that northern part of Disneyland is completely closed after like 10 o'clock. No one's there. The only thing that people do there is Small World. So, okay. So I'm going to tell you a story about a woman, right? And this woman, she's not crazy. She's got a good heart, but she's kind of crazy. She has really bad anger problems. So this story is from her. I'm going to call her Michelle. Okay? Not actually Michelle. There's a person that we worked with named Michelle. We're not talking about her. So if you're a Disneyland person, we're talking about a crazy person. And I think you guys can figure it out. So she says she saw, I haven't read the story, by the way. She says she saw a man and a woman that haunts Toontown. She said the man died on a small world and the spirit can't cross over. I don't know how true that is because it's Michelle. Let's see, where are we at? Because it's Michelle. Okay, so she said that's what me and another person that she worked with heard. She also said that Lillian gets mad when Toontown isn't clean. The fuck out of here. That doesn't make any sense. So Michelle says that Lillian Disney gets mad when Toontown isn't clean. That's why she does weird things. She apparently hangs out at the sink. I doubt you want to use any of her because I'm not sure how much I believe that. Yeah, I don't believe that either. But I actually have a funny story about that I'm going to bring up. Now, this person that we work with said, this is like a man that also has experiences in Tavern. But he says that he saw a person in the front of Tavern when he was in the kitchen. That's crazy. You saw something too. Okay, now she's just saying what I saw. Because she's never seen anything. And it's crazy because she's actually closed that area more than like anybody else. And she's never had anything happen. And that's normal. Like my house has like, something here. I don't want to talk about it because it ends up happening. But my roommate's never had shit happen here. He swears everything's cool. So, I mean, it just depends, man. Some people see it, some people don't. So let's try to check fact this crazy lady that I work with and see if there was a man that died in Small World. Did a person die on Small World, man? Oh, wow. Wow, someone has died. In 2010, Disneyland cleaner dies in a Small World accident. What the fuck? I've never heard of that. I heard of the guy that like decapitated himself by standing up on a ride. I think it was Big Thunder Mountain. Cleaner dies in a Small World accident. Hold on, is this the real one? It's in Disneyland Paris. Get the fuck out of here. Okay, let's Google it correctly. Has a person died in Small World Disneyland ride? Let's see what it says. So it's just Paris. So apparently, in this 2-second Disney search, there's actually a Wikipedia page on incidents at Disneyland Resort. So, they actually have it separated. Oh, it's a Small World. They do have one. So on November 27th, 2009, the ride broke down when a guest who is a quadriplegic, I can't pronounce that. The guest was stuck in the ride's goodbye room, the final setting of the Small World. For 30 to 40 minutes before evacuated, he suffered from medical conditions that were aggravated by the blaring music and was unable to exit the ride. The guest, get the fuck out of here, sued Disney for its inadequate evacuation procedures for disabled guests and for not providing proper warnings for those to not evacuate during the ride. Don't fucking go on the ride. On March 26th, so the man got $8,000. Get the fuck out of here. I was actually at Disney by this point. On the night of February 28th, 2015, a small fire broke out in the backstage area of a park relatively close to the... I remember this. The flames were reported around 9:20 and were said to have been caused by the fireworks show that was rescheduled earlier that evening because of rain. That's why you can't fucking... People... So one thing that happens at Disneyland, guys, is when you work at Disneyland, we have fireworks show usually at 9:30, and if it's like a holiday, they'll do it like they'll have like 2 fireworks shows. And there's this thing that happens where, like, if it's windy, any remotely windy, in this case, it was raining. When it's windy or raining, the fireworks are unstable. So their fireworks will go to the left or to the right, and it could cause an accident, a fire. Last thing we need is Disneyland fire burning down. So people get really upset, and, like, they look at you like it's my fault. Like, can't you do something? It's like, homie, I just cleaned tables. Like, I can't do anything about it. It drives me fucking crazy. So apparently there's a bunch of stuff that happened. I'm gonna go over Big Thunder Mountain. Is it Big Thunder Mountain? Okay, hold on. Indiana Jones, Disneyland, Columbia, Big Thunder Railroad. Okay, so in March 10th, 1998, a 5-year-old was seriously injured when his foot became wedged between the passenger car running board and the edge of the platform after the train temporarily paused before pulling into the uploading area. All the toes on the left foot required amputation. Disney made improvements to the ride, and the family claims the park would not acknowledge that accident as the reason for doing so. Yeah, of course, because then you sue them, asshole. So Disneyland made improvements after that happened, and then they claim the park would never acknowledge it. That's classic Disney. Disney does that. I love, because they just don't give a fuck. I mean, whatever. Anyways, on September 5, 2003, a 22-year-old man died after suffering severe blunt force trauma and extensive internal bleeding in a derailment of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad roller coaster that also injured 10 other riders. The cause of the accident was determined to be improper maintenance. Wow. Dude, Disney's on top of maintenance, so it's really surprising that happened. Investigation reports and discovery by the victim's attorney confirmed the fatal injuries occurred when the first passenger car collided with the underside of the locomotive. The derailment was the result of a mechanical failure that had occurred because of emissions during a maintenance procedure. Fasteners on the left side of the upside-down glide wheel on the floating axle of the locomotive were now tightened and secure in accordance with specifications. As the train entered the tunnel, the axle came loose and jammed against the brake section, causing the locomotive to become airborne and hit the ceiling of the tunnel. That would fucking suck. So it fucking went flying in the air, and the guy hit his head. I couldn't even imagine, because that's like how many pounds of everybody on board plus your weight going up. Ugh. Oh shit, the locomotive then fell on top of the first passenger car, crushing the victim. Some people blame the new cost-conscientious Maintenance culture brought in by Paul Pressler and the consultants of McKinsey and Company. McKinsey, yeah, and Company in 1997, which included the reliability-centered maintenance. So that's fucking crazy. So a fucking car went flying up in the air and it landed on someone. That is fucking crazy. How does that even happen? I've worked there and I heard people died, but I hear like, that's how you know like stories are bullshit, because people said that some guy stood up and his head fell off. I took that as true. That's not what happened. Back on the Tower of Terror, a 20-year-old man was hospitalized after falling 25 feet from the platform. He was waiting in line to ride the attraction and climbed over a barrier before losing his balance. Fucking idiot. That's what he gets. Let's see. Oh my god, I should have just done a video on Disneyland. I'll do that in the future. I'm going to go over Disneyland and do this. This is so much fun, guys. I'm really enjoying the podcast. I've never, this is my first podcast, and I'm really excited about doing this. So I'm definitely going to do this once a week. I'm going to have a blast. Thank you so much for listening. The podcast isn't over, but I already did Disneyland, and I did Haunted, that one spot that I wanted to go. Okay. List of accidents. It's a small world. Matterhorn. Ooh, the Matterhorn's the famous one. So in 1964, a 15-year-old boy from Long Beach, California, was injured after he stood up on the Matterhorn bobsleds and fell out. It was reported that his restraints were undone. Oh wow. It was reported that his restraint was undone by his ride companion. He died 3 days later as a result of his injuries. This was Disneyland's first fatality. Wow. Could you imagine the fucking... Oh, he stood up. It was a combination of the guy that was with him being a moron and then himself. I shouldn't say bad things about the dead. Rest in peace. On January 3rd, 1984, a 48-year-old woman from Fremont, California was decapitated. That's the story. People always confuse it with Big Thunder. Everyone says Big Thunder. Was decapitated when she was thrown into a Matterhorn bobsled cart and then struck by the next oncoming bobsled. The spot where she was killed now is now called Dolly's Drop by cast members. An investigation found that her seatbelt was not buckled. It is clear where the victim deliberately unfastened her belt or the seatbelt was malfunctioned. It's for sure she I don't know what the belts were like back then, but I know now it's like really hard to fucking do it. I don't think they come unlock until later. And also, like, when I always do my fucking seatbelt right away, but a lot of people, they don't. Like, a lot of people, they fucking wait for the person to see if they catch him. I've seen people like pretend to do it and pretend to pull, and then they're like, nope. They actually push it in. The cast member pulls it in, and cast members are like really underappreciated because people always they'll like blame them for shit. Like, it's like, oh, because they're enforcing these rules for their safety, because Disneyland's all about safety. And these fucking assholes, these guests, sometimes are like so disrespectful. They're like, oh, well, why are you stressing out over the rules? It's like, homie, we're trying to save your life. Like, look, if we, like, Disney can afford you dying, and you're just gonna sue them. Your family's gonna sue them. They can afford it, but you can't afford your life. Why would you ever just don't be an asshole. Everything's done for safety, And then, okay, what do we have next? Oh, A Small World. We did that one. Indiana Jones. That's another one I heard about. So on June 25, 2000, a 23-year-old woman from Spain exited the Indiana Jones ride complaining of a severe headache. She was hospitalized later that day when it was discovered to have suffered a brain hemorrhage. She died on September 1st, 2000 of cerebral aneurysm. So an aneurysm. Cerebral? I can't pronounce it. Her family, wrongful death. What? Died because of violent shaking. So the family tried to sue for a wrongful death lawsuit against Disney, stating that the victim died of a violent shaking and stresses imposed by the ride. In the appeal, an appeal of legal issue with the case prior to the decision of the case's merits. And Supreme Court held that the amusement parks are considered common carriers, similar to commercial operated planes, trains, and elevators and ski lifts. This ruling imposes that a heightened duty of care on amusement parks and requires them to provide the same degree of care and safety as other common carriers. Disney settled the lawsuit for undisclosed sum after the appeal. But before a decision was rendered on the case's merit, the victim's medical costs were estimated to be but like with insurance, right? I don't know. The estimated costs were estimated to be more than 1.3 million. I don't know, guys. That sounds like bullshit. She probably had a medical issue and to have Disney pay for that doesn't sound right. A 30-year-old employee. One of the guests at 33. Okay, here we go. Colombia. So a heavy metal cleat fastened to the hull of a sailing ship Columbia tore loose, striking a 30-year-old employee and 2 park guests. One of the guests, a 33-year-old man, died of a head injury at UCI. So he died at UCI Medical Center 2 days later. The normal tie line and an elastic helm rope designed to break easily was improperly replaced for financial reasons. It always is, by an elastic nylon rope that stretched and tore the cleat from the ship's wooden hull. And it has not been trained in operation. So, of course, after this incident, Disney reinstated lead foreman on most rides, and the Anaheim Police Department offered officers in the park the speed response. This accident resulted in the first guest death on a Disneyland ride that was not attributable to negligence on part of the guest. Okay, so this time, this was the first death that happened that was on Disney. This is actually Disney's fault. And this happened in 1998. So California Division of Occupation Safety and Health investigated the incident and found fault with the training of the park employee who placed the docking line on the cleat. The cleat was designed to help to brake the ship, and the employee should have been trained to recognize that the ship was approaching too fast. That's such a hard job for a minimum wage job. That sounds like to have them train, and like it's a stressful job, and they pay a minimum wage at the time. Ride procedures called for the ship's captain to reverse the ship if it overshot the dock and reapproach the dock at the correct speed. Disney was fined $12,500 by Cal and OSHA. And settled a lawsuit brought by the victims survivor for an estimated $25 million. Damn, $25 million. That's a fucking lot of money, dude. I mean, that's what when you're a $1 billion industry, right? Like you're gonna get sued. All right, this is gonna be the last one I'm gonna talk about like people that I don't know, and then I'm gonna go over one thing that happened What was it? I'm going to go over one more story. Okay, so Alice in Wonderland. On December 21st, 2000, a 15-year-old boy from Mesa, Arizona was critically injured and suffered a broken leg after his left foot broke, stuck behind a guardrail and the cart in which he was riding. Police claim that the boy had dangled his leg outside the car, causing the injury. The attraction reopened less than 6 hours after the investigation. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that happens. That's going to be accidents. I mean, a lot of the accidents that happen, it really isn't Disney's fault. So I kind of don't blame them. All right, I'm going to go over a personal story that a friend told me. All right, so this one's going to be a little bit of a history lesson. So there used to be a attraction called Billy Hill and the Hillbillies. It was a show performed at the Golden Horseshoe. It's a restaurant in Disneyland. On their days off, a guy named Dana Daniels would perform his variety show. When Toy Story blew up, they decided to literally last minute cancel the Billy variety show and close the food service. So I worked the final day of operations, and one of our last tasks management wanted was for the brown trays to be brought upstairs to Freddy's room. There's a haunted story behind why it's called that too. My lead his supervisor was doing paperwork, and I went to take the last load up, and I paused Walt's booth and said, "Sorry, Walt." So he was like apologizing to that sucks that they're getting rid of it for a commercial for like fucking Toy Story. And he was angry, and the show with live talent was going to be replaced by head characters, and had felt that over the past 15 years. So he goes into like what he's disappointed with Disney. A lot of people are complaining about the same thing he is, that they've gone away from like the classic stuff, and now they're just doing Marvel, Star Wars, like whatever sells, which honestly they need new people to like get addicted to the parks. So mind you, we didn't really practice lifting rules back then, and I know I was up to my chin in trays. So he had at least 50 pounds worth of trays, and I've done this too. As I went up, taking a brief pause halfway up the banister, I rested my load over my hand, hanging onto the brass railing for a moment. When I took my next step, it was right onto a red tray. My load fell all over the stairs as I was going down, and I rolled just a bit right into some of the sliding trays, acting kind of weird, acting like a bumpy sled. I go, where the hell did a red tray come from? So when I took my next step, it was right onto a red tray. So someone put a red tray where he could trip and fall, which is super dangerous going upstairs. Anyways, my lead walked in, and I was picking up as I was picking up the stack, and I asked her if we returned the stray trays, and she confirmed. We got a Band-Aid for the small gash on my arm behind the bar, and she joked, maybe Walt still wants his chili and beans, one of his favorite food items. It was done on purpose, but the stage take hit the house. Oh, this one's a good story. I actually know this one. So he got so this is back-to-back stories. We had a Band-Aid on the small gash on my arm behind the bar, and she joked, maybe Walt still wants his chili and beans, one of his favorite food items, and it was on purpose. But the stage take hit the house lights off right when she said that. Have never seen her scared like that before, but she definitely got wide-eyed, and we fast walked out. So fast forward more, the show flops in 10 weeks. The APs, the annual pass holders, by the way, most annoying people in the world, but you know, they make the park go around, flooded City Hall and got the Billies back. You know what? That's actually really cool. I like that. The annual pass holders, they're very demanding. They're like vegans, though. They're like, how do you find out if someone's vegan? They'll tell you. That's the joke. Fast forward now, Billy's got laid off and now works at Knott's. So he was an actual performer. And then he told me some other stories, but I kind of want to save that for another time. Okay, I'm going to go over another story he says. So on the Haunted Mansion, he took the tour 7 times, and they explicitly mentioned that every single artifact, especially in the bride room, has a backstory of hauntings. The last tour I took in 2015, they pointed at a pentagon on a table in the room. Wow, I didn't know that. That can't be real. That can't be right. I'm going to, for legal reasons, say that that's not true. And allegedly, it's invisible in the black light, but she bought a flashlight and it's clearly there. I wish the bullet hole in the dining room glass had a cool story, but also I guess there's a bullet hole in the dining room glass had a cool story, but I heard on more than one tour it was stoned hippies. Boo. He's a funny dude. Anyways, looking forward to the next one. Hold on. Oh, most I hate when you're reading stuff because then it, you know, does that shit. So I don't like it. My friend says spooky fact about Orange County: Jack Black was the brother to Tom Hanks' son and soon to be author of Goosebumps. Okay. Anaheim. Okay, I'm gonna do another one of this guy's stories because he really put effort into it, and I really appreciate that. He's an amazing dude. He was kind of like I want to say a mentor, but someone that I looked up to at work. So another Anaheim White House is its super fancy restaurant I've been to a few times. It's a former mansion converted over. It had stories. Maybe Google will bring some good luck there. Inside, there was a fire a few years ago. It's definitely eerie in a fancy way. And then obviously, he says too bad, but I'm going to bring it up anyways. The Queen Mary's in Long Beach / LA. Hell of a lot of stories and history on that ship. It spent time in war when she was in a cruise vessel. I didn't know that. I thought it was always a luxury ship like the Titanic. Fishing Tail. Oh, okay, let's go. So he has another story. He has a couple. He goes, Fishing Tail. I used to fish off the Huntington Beach Pier every Friday and Sunday from age 9 to 13. And of the old owner of the End Cafe, there's a restaurant at the end of this pier. And when the pier collapsed in 1988, he was seen carrying the cash register from his partially collapsed cafe in a red wagon. Later that day, another brunt of the hurricane took out the front section and the rest of the pier's end, including the cafe. Edit. I didn't finish the tale, so apparently on foggy nights, fishers also see an old man walking off the pier with a wagon and cash register. I guess Max, the former owner. That's fucking crazy. Could you imagine, like, you saw something with your eyes, right? Like something that existed, and then later on you hear that thing's become, like, person became a ghost. Could you imagine the fucking things? And do you think that, like, maybe in the past people see like ghosts, it's us in the future, and then people in the past, it's them? Like, it's people in the past, they see us, and then we see them in the past, and it's like this weird, like I just think of Interstellar. I'll bring up Interstellar a million times because it's like the greatest movie of all time, and fucking Christian Nolan's like God. I don't know, they're just amazing. So yeah, he told me the stories. He sent me pictures of the. Okay. Oh, I got another story, guys. This one just hot off. Someone literally just posted it onto my Facebook post. So this person, Michelle, was terrified of the upstairs room at the stage door. She told me why once, but I can't remember. Maybe it was a store in White was called Freddy's Room. She didn't like the closing Toontown because she thought it was haunted. Yeah, you know what? Toontown always kind of gave me the creeps, but I was cool with it. Honestly, I got more creeped out walking from Plaza. Plaza's where they it's at the end of Main Street, and I would walk through the streets like at Main Street like at 2:30, 3:30, because I used to work at that restaurant, and most of the people in my area, they were home by 10:30. But this area fucking sucked. I hated working there. But great food, fried chicken, salmon. Oh, I mean, just delicious food. Blows my other restaurant out of the water. I work where they make turkey legs and stuff. It's cool. It's a good spot. I like it there. So, oh my God, this podcast is going almost an hour. I'm super proud. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a long, because no one's going to listen to this, but one day in the future, a bunch of people are going to listen to it. I have lots of friends supporting me, a lot of friends, and I have some strangers too, but you know, a 1 hour video, that's too long for anybody to sit there, unless you're a fan. And hopefully a long time in the future, people are going to be like, wow, George, he didn't know he was really bad at recording and stuff. So I also just want people to know what I sound like, because like anybody can sound good through editing. I feel I sound normal, but you know, like what's his name, that dumbass from Adam Hates Everything, Ruins Everything. That guy's such a moron. When you hear him talking real life, he's like like nonstop. By the way, I'll tell that story at another time. There's another celebrity hate story that I can't stand, but I'm not gonna bring that up on the show. I'll bring it up some other time. Okay, so what actually started this video was my friend Nestor saying you should do a video on this about something semi-local, and so Nestor Lima, thank you so much. I love you, buddy. But another story too, and this is really what really started. My good friend Nick, he's actually the guy we went on the hiking trail together, and we were being stalked by something. He just messaged me and said, okay, so he said that I should do a video on Anaheim High School because it's haunted. Now they have a bunch of like Cold War bunkers there, so it's really creepy down there. It's all concrete. I'm actually staring at a picture of it right now. So I went in with a couple. So this is my friend's story. I went in with a couple friends the first time, and we found out a stairway. Oh my God, George. We found a stairwell that went down to a door that led into a shelter, and we tried opening it but couldn't. The place had a vent, so I stuck my head next to it, and I could hear little water drops. It was dead quiet, just the water drops, and then the water stopped, and I heard someone whisper, "I'm in here," and I booked it. So he was listening for water, and then someone just goes, "I'm in here," and he books it. He books it means he took off, just in case you don't know slang. I don't know where you're from. And second time we had to climb a wall to unlock a door, and there was another door with the ladder that went underground, maybe 8 to 9 feet. I went down, maybe like it was probably like 9 feet. We went down, and it was one of the bomb shelters. We had to walk around, and just felt like something kept following us. We kept walking around it, got hotter and hotter, and then one of my friends started screaming because she felt something grab her arm and yanked her. Girls yell over everything. I know, like my girlfriend screams when we go at like spots. Her and her mom, like fucking chickens squawking and shit. When we go to like mazes and haunted like parade bullshit. Okay. So anyways, so we turned around to look at her, and she was on the floor crying by herself, and that's when we decided to leave, of course. Why the fuck wouldn't you leave? That's crazy. Because I know that I actually read up an article, and one of the articles was like all the haunted places in California, and they said legit, like number one was every school in Orange County. Like every Orange County school is haunted, because most of the schools are from the 50s. They all started in the 50s, you know. We're not like ancient like Boston or even like the old world, how old cities there are. Like they're like thousands of years old, but like we got some cool shit. And we got history here too. So I'm going to tell you guys a story. This is going to be the final story. It's a campus security story at Anaheim High School. And this is a story that made me want to do a video on this, so I'm so glad that I'm doing it, and it's going to end the show. So Priscilla Rodriguez, another campus security aide, also experienced a thrilling event. Rodriguez was leading on a on-campus suspension. Hold on, I'm going to go back to the first story because it said another thrilling event. The other story was that they walked into a room and they saw a broom, and the broom was standing up on its own. And then they went over, they knocked it over, and then they tried to do it again, and they couldn't do it. Honestly, it's not impossible to do that. And that's literally the story. And she said it felt creepy. Remember when a couple months ago people were standing up brooms, and it was like, oh my God, gravity's broken or some shit, you know? that's not a big deal. Like, people can do that with brooms. Someone probably did it, left it there, and then it was standing there the whole time. And the ghosts were probably staring at the broom. Anyways, so Priscilla Rodriguez, another campus security aide, experienced a thrilling event. Rodriguez was leading an on-campus suspension when she took the students to a room located under the peg stage. That afternoon, the doors were locked, so she had to contact one of the custodians to open up the door. However, when Julio arrived to unlock the door, they both heard voices and noises from within the room. He asked her if anybody was inside, and she told him that nobody had gone in, that they had been waiting for him to open the door. So they're waiting for a group of kids for in-house suspension. I've been there. And they can hear someone in there, so they think someone broke in. So this custodian and this security, they wanted to catch him. So as the noise continued, he turned to her with an idea. Wait here. I'm gonna go around to the other side of the pep stage, and when I unlock the door, they will come running out. So he went to the other side, opened the door to try to get her. So after opening the door, the custodian radioed her and said, radioed her and asked her if anybody came out. She responded with a no. And once they went inside, they scanned the room, but it was completely empty. However, all the desks were up against the wall and were stacked on top of each other. Julio told Priscilla as he was walking down the hall and inserted the key into the hole, the noises persisted until he opened it. I do not know how you can have on-campus suspension here. That afternoon, the students that were present helped Priscilla arrange the desk back to their original formation. Rodriguez recognized that the event was one of the oddest things she ever experienced. However, this is not the only one. She told us that sometimes during the day, she sees a lady dressed in a white dress, but she can never catch her. After speaking to several staff members, some say that they have grown accustomed to the activity in the school, and it does not stop them from doing their job. But at the moment of the occurrence, the events are certainly frightening. Along with the staff members, others have experienced eerie events. The stories can be found in book. And this is actually a real book. Someone sold this book. You could find it on Amazon, I believe. I checked it. Their stories can be found in the book Anaheim's Dead: Ghostly Encounters with the Past, Tom Zarach. So that's it, guys. Let me just finish the last two. So Disneyland was number 3 for that one list that we were going over. San Juan Capistrano, it's one of the 21 missions. I believe it's 21 or 22. I know that there's 21 official, but there's actually a 22nd that like no one knows about. And the missions they're like old school Catholic type churches and shit where people lived at. And so we have already heard from one ghostly monk in Orange County, but one that is haunting mission San Juan Capistrano still has his head firmly attached. However, witnesses claim that he doesn't have a face, so he's like nearly faceless neck, I guess. There are reports of a headless soldier who stands guard over the grounds. The mission bells are known to ring by themselves at random times during the night. Overall, it's just a creepy type of place. And then the last one is, this is actually a funny article, Plummer Auditorium, Fullerton. So Fullerton's apparently also scary, or haunted. Plummer Auditorium is now Fullerton High School and is home to Fullerton Civil Light Opera. However, from time to time, this auditorium puts on a show of different kind, and it's all thanks to its namesake, Louis Plummer, who seems in no hurry to leave despite the fact that he passed. Among the paranormal activity he's blamed for, there are instances of malfunctioning lighting, warped fixtures, and most disturbing of all, a spinning floating head. However, others believe that the paranormal activity is not coming from Mr. Plummer, but from a secret that the auditorium is hiding. It's actually the last remaining access point to some mysterious tunnels that ran underneath Fullerton at one time. These tunnels are open to exploration, and many return with the stories of disembodied voices and some disturbing sights and sounds. So I've heard this. So back during the Cold War, they outfitted all these schools with bunkers so the community can go in there and hide in case of a nuclear attack. One thing that I found really interesting about this whole thing was that California, like at least Orange County, Anaheim, the old districts like Garden Grove District, Unified District, and Anaheim, Western, all the different schools here, they all have like weird bunkers or underground stunting. Like it's crazy. Rancho doesn't have anything cool like that. Garden Grove, I believe, does, but all these Anaheim schools also have it. So Anaheim is right next to Garden Grove and Stanton. It's a beautiful city. Main Street, Garden Grove, like that area. It's a beautiful town. But yeah, there's a bunch of like old shit that happens, and there's a bunch of paranormal stuff there, and I'll cover that one day. But so I'm gonna bring this podcast to an end. I can't believe people do 3-hour podcasts. I can only do an hour. I'm running out of things to talk about, so I just want to thank you. If you listen to the whole thing, like, text me. I will put you on the list in the future when I made it. You're going to be on the VIP list anytime you want, okay? I love you guys. Thank you so much for being a friend and listening to my show. I could not thank you enough. Like, all the support I've been getting from strangers. Like, I've had a couple strangers message me and say, like, hey, I love your shows. You know, it's really nice hearing that stuff, and it makes me feel so good. And I just want to thank everybody. I can't thank you guys enough. It means so much to me. So that's the end of today's show. I love you guys. Bye-bye.